Sunday 20th of March 2022. It's come for a little drive to clear my head. Little update for you. Just before Christmas I sent an email to Ian Duncan Smith. In the email I requested the protection of the Crown based on the fact that within the family division in my family court case I have experienced state frauds, or should I say I have been experiencing state frauds right from the very start, including former school head teacher, police, social services, chair people, chairmen, chairwomen within child protection meetings, right the way up to the top, including the judges hearing the court cases, so to speak. To explain what a state fraud is, yeah? A state fraud is if I tell a lie to you, or an individual tells you a lie, to us, we just see that as a lie, and that individual is just a lying, whatever label you want to put on it, a lying so-and-so, yeah? But because a school teacher is employed by the local authority, or a police officer, again, or a social worker, again, all these people are what are known as civil servants. If they tell a lie about you as an individual, that becomes a state fraud. Okay? People associate fraud to be directly money, but money, it doesn't have to be. It can be the control of the entity. It can be the control, obviously in my case, it would be the control of the children. Yeah. So a lie, what me and you would determine as a lie, you know, to assassinate an individual's character, to determine an outcome of a court case, becomes a fraud, because you're lying in order to determine the outcome. And because they're lying, if it was just an ex-wife or an ex-husband, yeah, that's just a lie. But if it's a police officer, a social worker, yeah, or a judge, that becomes a state fraud. A judge's fraud, yeah, as in my case, in my experience, they can do something like commit a denial fraud. Denial fraud would be fair representation. When I say fair representation, in my case, at the beginning of the court case, I requested an adjournment of my case, as I hadn't been provided with what's called a court bundle. My ex-wife's legal counsel then turned around and said that he provided the court bundle via an email just a few days ago, and I could have downloaded it. The judge immediately said, I agree, the case will continue. Right there and then, the judge has just committed a state fraud, because not only have I not got not only have I not got the court bundle and had it to refer to, but I've not had ample time to read what's been written within this court bundle, which is where all the arguments are going to be, what all the arguments within the court case are going to be based upon. But I've not had a chance to read it, prepare myself, highlight anything that I wish to raise within the court hearing, so to speak. So therefore, it's just not, shall we say, it's just not authentic. It's just not fair representation. And for a judge to turn around and say the case will continue, knowing that this is the case, that's what's known as legal abuse. Yeah. Collectively, they've all been legally abusing, so to speak. I've come to realise that I'm obviously not, I'm not no one special. Obviously, I'm just another number. So to them, as far as they're concerned, I wasn't supposed to recognise what's going on, like most people wouldn't recognise. So, due to my experience, well, actually, before that, I actually, in the court, the judge then turned around and said that it was brought to her attention that I built a website called fatherlessbritain.uk, and I made a few videos and published them on the website. Yeah. The judge then turned around and said that if I publish anything else pertaining to my case, that she would lock me up. So basically, they've been abusing me, and if I tell anybody about it, they're gonna lock me up. Yeah, right? Now, we hear a lot of things about mental health. We've been hearing a lot about mental health in regards to, obviously the pandemic, etc. Yeah. Now, myself personally, shall I say, I've been in a lockdown from 2017 because your life stops when you just don't see your kids. Yeah. There's nowhere to go. When I say there's nowhere to go, if you've been a full-time dad, which I was, doing everything, your day based around your kids. You get up, everything you do is based around your kids and the family, so to speak. Yeah. Once that's removed, you've got nothing else to live for, so to speak. Yeah. Now, in regards to my mental health, there's not been any, shall we say, there's not been anything offered to me or any support in any which shape or form from from the local authority or anything else. Yeah. If anything, they've gone out of their way to abuse me, so to speak. Now, talking about mental health, because I used to work in the building industry, I was put in touch with a charity that works with people within, that helps people within that area of work, the building industry, and I was given 6 consecutive weeks of counselling. Within that counselling, the woman my counsellor, obviously I've explained all of what I've been experiencing and all my problems, etc. And she went on to say, when I was telling her about what's happened in regards to, not what I've experienced and what the judge said, but she's going to lock me up and everything else, because it's a private, the family courts, if you like, for the common term known as a secret court, because you're not allowed to talk about it. When I explained, going through all of that, she said to me that she knows the woman who invented that. So I asked her, so I was a bit, okay. So I said, what's her name? What's that? Trying to find out a little bit more about it. She then explained that this woman's in her 80s, and so at that point I turned around and said, well, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I don't, for obvious reasons, when she's in her 80s, you don't want to put it on. Yeah, you don't want her name in the public domain, so to speak. But what my counsellor did explain to me is that this woman who invented, I'm assuming it's the law that was written in 1960, she explained that this law that's been written forbidding anybody to talk about what's gone on within the family court was designed to protect the children. However, it's being abused, which is obviously my experience. Because of the way it's to explain how it's been abused, as I've explained, where the judge turned around and said that if I say anything publicly, she'll lock me up. Most people won't say nothing for fear of getting sent to prison. Yeah. as I say, just before Christmas, I sent an email to Ian Duncan Smith explaining my experiences. I've spoken to him before, face to face back then, yeah. I explained it to him, and all he could say to me at that time, all he said to me at that time was, "Why would all these people do this to you?" My reply to him was, "Well, that's a good question. You tell me." He then turned and started speaking to somebody else. Didn't say to me, "Book an appointment, come and see me in my surgery," or nothing like that. Just change the subject, if you like. He was on campaign with Sean Bailey at the time, which was for when Sean Bailey was campaigning to become the Mayor of London. So as I say, I sent an email to Ian Duncan Smith requesting what's called this protection of the Crown. Protection of the Crown. The protection of the Crown. If you've experienced something like myself, whereby collectively individuals have told individual lies, whether that be verbally or in writing or both, yeah, right? As I said to you before, me, if I told you a lie, that's just a lie. I'm just a lying git, if you like, yeah. If a professional, a social worker does so, that's a state fraud, yeah, because it determines the outcome of any potential court cases, right? So I've asked Ian Duncan Smith in this email for the protection of the Crown. The protection of the Crown, yeah, stops. It means that you come under the protection of the Crown. The Queen being the head of state, yeah, the government is the state, yeah. Local councils, yeah, are answerable to the government. So it's local governance, if you like, yeah. Local governance answerable to central governance, and the governance is state, and the Queen is the head of state. The protection of the Crown, which is when the Queen took the throne, she swore to protect the people. Once the protection of the Crown is implemented, yeah, you get it automatically. You're automatically entitled to it from the moment they commit a state fraud, yeah. So anything that goes on from that point onwards, once it can be proven, anything that goes on beyond that point onwards, yeah, from the moment that state fraud is committed, yeah, whether that, they can't prosecute you they can't even give you a parking ticket, yeah. Obviously, individuals wouldn't know that, an individual parking attendant wouldn't know that, they'll just give you a parking ticket anyway, yeah. But when you appeal it, so to speak, and the appeal, as you know, is made really, really hard, yeah, because there's no contact phone number, yeah. The only phone number is phone this number to pay the money. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So the protection of the Crown means that they can't give it. It stops them from committing any state fraud. It stops any individual, whether they be a police officer. They can't bring any court case against you, basically, in short term. Yeah, right. In my case, obviously, I would be entitled to full legal representation in all areas of the law that I have experienced abuse. Yeah. So, as I say, I asked Ian Duncan Smith within this email for the protection of the Crown due to my experiences. He wrote back to me saying that he's written to the Right Honourable Dominic Raab. Dominic Raab, as you know, is the current Deputy Prime Minister. Obviously, I had to wait for his response. His response came via Ian Duncan Smith. And when you read the attachment, the letter that was sent from Dominic Raab, he's basically telling me to go to the Citizens Advice Bureau. So I've been experiencing state frauds, yeah, from school teachers propagating misinformation by not delivering the full truth to determine the outcome, using specific descriptive words and phrases. The same thing from the police in child protection meetings, propagating misinformation, yeah, by stating things like Mr. Clark has been known for violence back in 2012, known to the police in recent years on 2 occasions for violence, once in 2012. In 2012, what they're talking about, I was convicted of ABH. Yeah, I appealed that. I appealed it because I was defending myself. A couple of guys tried to rob me of 1,200 quid. Yeah, when I returned the car. Okay, so they tried to rob me of this 1,200 quid. Obviously, I'm not gonna have that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I recovered my money in full. I didn't do anything over the top, so to speak, but for obvious reasons. Yeah, I was found guilty. Yeah, right. I appealed it, and I proved in the Crown Court that not only were these guys lying because they, in regards to what they're saying happened, but they'd said, even to the judge in the court case, that the car that I purchased was, to me, they told me that the car was their mother's disabled car, when actually, in the court, they even told the judge that they don't buy and sell cars or anything else, and then all of a sudden, my barrister pulled out all these different screenshot prints that I'd printed off and given to him, which showed that they're selling cars, yeah, some cars for like 20 odd grand, Mercedes and God knows what else, yeah, and they just turned around and told the judge that they don't buy and sell cars. They haven't got no, the judge said, like, so you, to be clear, you don't have any other jobs, and they said, no, we don't do it, and the judge said, so you're not a car dealer? He said, no. And obviously it got proven that he was a car dealer, yeah. So based on that, the police woman now within the child protection meeting, she's saying that I was convicted in 2012, yeah, right, for ABH, yeah. But what she's not saying, yeah, which she would be privy to, she would know this because that would be added, yeah. What she is not saying is that I appealed it, and the appeal was granted, and the conviction was overturned. So therefore, that becomes provocation of misinformation, and it's deliberate. Yeah. When I rebutted this, yeah, this then the police officer then turned around and started bringing in another case. Yeah. So when I sat there like a good little boy, putting my hand up, yeah, please, miss, yeah, the chairwoman, she's now shouting at me, telling me to put my hand down. This is just normal, standard procedure when it comes to children. So basically, what she's saying is, it's normal procedure for them to propagate misinformation within this, the children's social services, and by the chairwoman actually shouting me down and not letting me speak, she's actually committing a denial fault, because she's not allowing me to represent myself. I have something to say about that, and she's not allowing me to speak to represent myself. That there is what's called a denial fraud, yeah. And this is what the judge. It's the same thing as what the judge did, yeah. So that allows him to write down Mr. Clark, quote, was known for violence back and such, yeah. But the truth is, yeah, that I did actually turn around and state, but that's not true. So therefore, for even what's called the minute taker to write down that Mr. Clark has been known, was known at such and such on a certain date for violence, but not stating the fact that Mr. Clark tried to rebuke this, but the chairwoman wouldn't let him speak. By her writing that down, by the minute taker writing that down, she's just committed a state fraud as well, in effect, because she's wrote down something that that's not true, although it's clear that I'm trying to represent myself. Yeah? So this is what they do, right? This is, and we know that this is what they do. I know that this is what they do because they did it to me, and the chairwoman actually said, this is just what we do when there's children involved. Now, unfortunately for them, but fortunately for me, yeah, unfortunately for you, I was recording all of this. Yeah, that's right. I was recording this. Many of the meetings, yeah, with the social services, yeah, including the court, yeah, and the court's findings, yeah, I was recording. That's right, I was recording. And in the court's findings, the court turned around, the judge, she turned around and said, although it's clear Mrs. Clark was lying, we can understand why Mrs. Clark was lying. But she doesn't actually give a reason why she can understand why Mrs. Clark was lying. Okay? However, we find her more believable than Mr. Clark. Okay? But she doesn't say that they found me lying. They just found her more believable than myself. Yeah? The reason to explain why they found her more believable than myself is because they had their agenda in the first place. You see, what's called a CAFCAS officer, which is a social worker to the courts, direct from the court, that's supposed to represent the interest of the children, and that's what it's sold under, in the interest of the children. The CAFCAS officer basically told a pack of lies, and she wrote a pack of lies. And when I was questioning her, remember she's under oath, I turned and said to her, you do realise I was recording this, don't you? So she says, recording the meetings. And she says, well, I didn't know it at the time, but I now understand that, yes, she was recording the meetings. So I said, so do you still believe what you said to be true? She says, yes. So, in effect, yeah, well, the CAFCAS officer, the main professional within the court, has told a pack of lies, yeah? And because I'm saying that it's a lie, and I've recorded it, the judge hasn't asked to turn around and say, can I hear those recordings? All she's asked me is what was actually said within those meetings. Now, obviously, I'm under a lot of stress, so I haven't remembered everything. So therefore, rather than turn around and say, she said this, or this was said, etc., I said to her, I can't remember all of what was said, but I have got the recordings. So what she should have done is turn and said, I would like to hear those recordings. Yeah? So, on the basis, the judge has now turned around and said she finds them more, finds Mrs. Clark more believable than myself. So they've not found me to be lying. It's because I've not been lying. Yeah? Now, I've written, like I said, I've written to Dominic, Raab, Ian Duncan Smith, who's forwarded to the Prime Minister, Deputy PM, Dominic Raab, and he's telling me to go to the Citizens Advice Bureau. Oh dear, it would be funny if it wasn't so heartbreaking, actually. Do you know what I mean? It would be funny if it was, but no, it's not so funny. So, there's me. Yeah, and yeah. So, for all the kids out there that don't see their dad for whatever reason, I know that there's somewhat less dads out there, just like there's somewhat less mums out there. But I know I've come across people that, as adults, since this, and they've pretty much said that they found out that their mum had been lying to them and this type of thing, and some of them managed to establish relationships with their father, others haven't because their father's since passed on, etc. So obviously I'm not special, you know, it's to a lot of people, but no one documents it. So for all you kids out there, right, that don't see your dad, they used to see your dad, and all of a sudden you don't see your dad, right? I'm not saying your dad's perfect, yeah, right? I'm not saying your dad's perfect. I'm not perfect. But I love my kids, right? I love my boys. And I'm pretty certain that your dad loves you, right? So, for all of you that don't know what's actually gone on, yeah, and you miss the love of a father, make no mistake, you've got a dad, and your dad loves you. I'm your dad. I am your daddy, and I love you. Look at me as your dad, because there's many of me out there. There's many of us. There's many of us, and we love you. But due to the way the system is set up and the way it's been implemented, we get removed from the equation. And make no mistake about it, this is just not just my opinion. It's not just me saying it. When I was going through all of this, I was talking to different people, different social workers and different people involved that weren't involved in my case directly, but I was trying to get advice, so to speak. Yeah? And they told me categorically, they said, Mr. Clark, you need to be careful because they will use descriptive words. They use descriptive words, descriptive phrases to remove the fathers from the equation. And these descriptive words and phrases work specifically well when dealing with men of ethnic backgrounds, and especially black men. These are their words, not my words, right? So that means you could come from the Mediterranean, Spain, Italian, of that heritage, yeah? You could come from African continent, you know, just not what's considered to be native English, so to speak. And using descriptive words and descriptive phrases, the father will be removed from the equation, from the children's lives. Yeah. The consequences of this is just horrendous. I've been doing a lot of research. We see a lot of things in regards to. We see a lot of stuff with. It's a statistical fact that a woman loses her life at the hands of a man every 3 days. Is it 3 days or 4 days? Whatever it is. Whatever it is, it's bad. And a lot of these men, they don't know how to treat a woman because their father's been removed from the equation. We need to look at what's happened. Why this man's done that. I mean, I can't justify that, and I would never justify that. I'd never justify that shit. But we need to look at what's causing the problem, what the cause of the problem is. Yeah? Like I said, every little girl, the first man that she's supposed to fall in love with is her daddy. Tell me I'm wrong. Every little boy's first hero should be his daddy. His first superhero should be his daddy. Not Superman or Spider-Man. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough for me today. Yeah, that's enough for me today. Yeah. I'm going to give you some updates, some brief, abbreviated updates, yeah. God bless.